We've come a long way since the merger 2.5 years ago. We are now set for growth. As we tread and move forward through the financial year 22 and beyond, we look to the future with positivity and confidence. Our bank has stayed committed through it all and continues to be to our customers, our employees, our communities, and our nation. I am happy to inform you that all the employees of the bank have come up with a Ghar Ghar Ration program in order to help a large number of poor customers of our bank who are directly affected by the second wave of COVID-19. Pooja, please.
मुस्कुराओ तुम जरा मैं संभाल लूंगा, जरूरतों को तेरी आगे मैं रखूंगा, हर छोटी बात तेरी याद मैं रखूंगा, जरूरतों को तेरी आगे मैं रखूंगा, आगे आगे मैं रखूंगा, आगे मैं रखूंगा, आगे आगे मैं रखूंगा, मैं संभाल लूंगा, आगे आगे मैं रखूंगा, आगे मैं रखूंगा, आगे आगे मैं रखूंगा, मैं संभाल लूंगा.
ಈ IDFC ಬ್ಯಾಂಕಿಂದ ಈ ಉಚಿತ ಕಿಟ್ಗಳನ್ನು ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಇರೋದು ತುಂಬ ಸಂತೋಷ ಆಯಿತು. ಎಷ್ಟೋ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ಗಳು ಸಾವಿರಾರು ಕೋಟಿ ಲಾಭನ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾವೆ ವಿನಃ ಬಡವರಿಗೋಸ್ಕರ ಏನೂ ಮಾಡಿಲ್ಲ. ಹಾಗೆ ನಮ್ಮದು ಅಂಗಡಿನಲ್ಲೇ ಪ್ಯಾಕ್ ಮಾಡಿಸಿದ್ದು ಇನ್ನೂ ಸಂತೋಷ ಆಗಿದೆ.
એ બદલ મને IDFC બેંકે 1 લાખનો ઓર્ડર આપેલ છે. આ કોરોના કાળમાં મેં એમની સેવા કરી છે અને એમાં બી મને ઘણો ફાયદો થયો છે.
ପଦକ ଯେଉଁ ଭଲ ପଦକ୍ଷେପ ନେଇଛି, ଘର ଘରକୁ ଯେଉଁ ରାସନ ସାମଗ୍ରୀ ଦେବା ଏବଂ ମୋ ଦୋକାନରେ ଯେଉଁ ରାସନ ସାମଗ୍ରୀ ଦେଇକି ମୋତେ ଆଜି ଗୋଟେ ଭଲ ଉଜ୍ଜଳ ଭବିଷ୍ୟତ ଦେଇଛନ୍ତି, ସେଥିପାଇଁ
तेरा हाथ जो थामूंगा, आगे आगे तुम्हें रखूंगा, रात और दिन साथ चलूंगा, आगे आगे तुम ही रखूंगा.
ಈ ಕೊರೋನಾ ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವುದೇ ರೀತಿ ಹೆಲ್ಪ್ ಮಾಡಿಲ್ಲ. ನೀವು ಚಿಕ್ಕದಾಗಿ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಪರವಾಗಿಲ್ಲ ಸರ್, ಹೆಲ್ಪ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಅದಕ್ಕೊಂದು ತುಂಬ ಸಂತೋಷ ಆಗ್ತದೆ.
કોરોનાની અંદર 1 મહિનાની અંદર બેંકના સાહેબોએ બહેનોના ઘરે ઘરે આવીને પૂછીને બહેનોના કીટો આપી છે અને બહેનના સાહેબોએ અને અમારી ખૂબ હેલ્પ કરી છે. બહેનોની ખૂબ સારવાર કરી બહેનોની સાહેબ લોકોએ. અને અમારા ત્યાં કોઈ બી બેંકના સાહેબો આવે એમના ખૂબ સારા વ્યવહારો છે બહેનો તરફથી. ખૂબ ખૂબ આભાર બેંકના સાહેબો તરફથી.
आगे बढ़ने की चाहत को मैं पंख दूंगा, जरूरतों को तेरी आगे मैं रखूंगा.
மெம்பர்ஸே பார்த்தீங்கன்னா நிறைய பேர் கோவிடில் வந்துட்டு அஃபெக்ட் ஆகிருக்காங்க. அவங்களாம் வந்துட்டு இப்போ வெளியில் போய் அவங்களால சாப்பாடு அரிசி எதுவுமே வாங்க முடியாது. அவங்க பர்சனலாகவே நம்மக்கிட்ட வந்துட்டு சொல்லியிருந்தாங்க அவங்க ரொம்ப சாப்பாட்டுக்கே கஷ்டப்படுறாங்கன்ற மாதிரி. ஸோ இப்போ வந்துட்டு நாங்கள் GRO, IRO, பிரான்ச் மேனேஜர்லேருந்து எல்லாம் நேர்லேயே போயிட்டு அவங்களுக்கு இந்த ரேஷன் ஐட்டம்லாம் ப்ரொவைட் பண்ணுறதுனால மெம்பர்ஸும் வந்துட்டு ரொம்ப ரொம்ப சந்தோஷமாக ஃபீல் பண்ணுறாங்க. அண்ட் அவங்ககிட்டே நேரில் போயிட்டு நாங்கள் கொடுக்கறதுனால எங்களுக்குமே வந்துட்டு ரொம்ப சந்தோஷமாக ப்ரௌடாக இருக்குது.
कोविड की सेकेंड वेव आई मार्च अप्रैल में, और जब हमारे फील्ड एग्जीक्यूटिव्स कलेक्शंस के लिए गए, बिजनेस के लिए गए, और जब उन्होंने हमें आके फीडबैक दिया कि सर रूरल एरियाज़ में क्योंकि बिजनेसेस बंद थे सारे, तो इसलिए लोगों को राशन से रिलेटेड मुश्किल भी एक्टिविटीज़ में जुटाने की भी मुश्किल हो रही है। और बाद में फिर उसी साथ हम बैंक की तरफ से ये घर घर राशन वाला इनिशिएटिव आया कि हमें हमारे कैचमेंट में जो भी हमारे कस्टमर्स है या नॉन कस्टमर है, जो भी नीडी और गरीब लोग हैं, उनको हमें राशन मुहैया करवाना है। तो ये सुनते ही मैं बहुत एक्साइटेड हुआ, वरना हमने नॉर्मली कॉर्पोरेट्स में देखा है कि लोग सिर्फ एनजीओ के थ्रू ये एक्टिविटीज़ करवाते हैं, बट ये एक तरह की यूनिक एक्टिविटी थी जिसमें हमने डायरेक्टली जाके भाग लिया। हम लोगों के घर तक गए और हमने उनको राशन दिया।
When we distribute the kits to customers, we have seen the happiness in their eyes, and some of the customers were telling the bank is not only doing the business with their customers, but it's also hand-holding their customers at this pandemic time. And it's a great initiative from our bank, and we are proud to work here.
ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮ ನನಗೆ ತುಂಬ ಸಂತೋಷವನ್ನು ತಂದುಕೊಟ್ಟಿದೆ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ನನಗೆ ತುಂಬ ಪ್ರೌಡ್ ಫೀಲ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಇನ್ನೂ ಅನೇಕ ಈ ರೀತಿ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮದಲ್ಲಿ ನಾನು ಭಾಗವಹಿಸಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ನನಗೆ ಒಂದು ಇನ್ಸ್ಪಿರೇಷನ್ ಆಗಿದೆ ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮ.
लोगों के माइंड में एक चीज़ है, अगर बैंक है और हम लोग जा रहे हैं या फिर वो लोग हमारे पास हैं तो उनके माइंड में एक ही चीज़ रहता है कि बैंक से आए हैं तो कुछ लेने ही आए हैं, अकाउंट RD FD GI LI जो भी. लेकिन हमारा IDFC फर्स्ट बैंक है, वो लोगों की पूरी सोच बदल दिया है. मेरे फैमिली वाले बहुत ज़्यादा मेरे ऊपर प्राउड करते हैं कि हमारी बेटी IDFC बैंक में जॉब करती है.
మన రేషన్ కిట్ను మనం డిస్ట్రిబ్యూట్ చేసినప్పుడు వాళ్ళు చాలా హ్యాపీ ఫీల్ అయ్యారు. ఎందుకంటే కస్టమర్కి మన లోన్లు ఇవ్వడమే కాదు, వాళ్ళ కష్టాల్లో ఉన్నప్పుడు ఏంటంటే మనం ఇలాంటివి కూడా చేసినప్పుడు ఏంటంటే చాలా హ్యాపీ ఫీల్, కస్టమర్లు హ్యాపీగా ఫీల్ అవ్వడం కాదు, నేను కూడా చాలా హ్యాపీ ఫీల్ అయ్యాను.
I now request Mr. Sanjeev Chaudhary to take over.
Thank you, Pooja. Very touching, as I'm sure you all are touched by this phenomenal effort by employees of the bank and our bank. And I'm really proud that we have such devoted and committed human beings working for our great institution. I would like to take this opportunity to thank my fellow board members for their constant support and encouragement, our management and employees for standing by their customers and our other communities, and all our communities whom we serve. On behalf of the board, I would like to thank the Reserve Bank of India for its continuous guidance. I also thank all of you, our shareholders, for your unstinting support to our bank. Thank you very much for this opportunity to speak to you. I would now like to invite Mr. V. Vaidyanathan, the Managing Director and CEO of the bank, to give his views on the way forward of this great bank. Mr. Vaidyanathan, please.
Thank you, Chairman Chaudhary, and very happy to speak to all of you shareholders today. This is probably the second or maybe the third time we're interacting, and I am happy to share with you that our bank has actually covered a lot of ground in a very, very short span of time. Let me just say that it just so happens that with the guidance of the board and the guidance of the RBI and support of all of you shareholders, our bank has actually almost hit all the right buttons. Our earliest position we took when we merged together is that we found that we had a very high dependence on so-called bulk deposits, and no CEO ever feels comfortable running a bank like that. So I think in the last 2 years, 2.5 years since the merger, I want to share with you that we have raised our retail deposits by 53,500 crores. I think it would be probably one of the larger raises if you think about in the banking system. And the important strategic call we took was that we are not going to deploy all this money for loans. We did the following. We closed bulk deposits of 17,000 crores. We closed about 16,000 crores of certificates of deposits, and we closed another about 10,000 crores of few other deposits. So the point is that this is an important strategic call taken, and this call is so useful because when COVID arrived, we were already sitting in a situation where we were very, very liquid, and we could live through that situation rather comfortably, which was otherwise a pretty hard event to go through. The second big strategic call we took at that point of time is that we want to reduce our exposure or percentage of exposure to the large institutions, the large exposures we have. I'll share the numbers with you later in the presentation. The third thing we took was that we want to play to our strengths. We just don't want to do all the things that all the banks do because our starting point was different. So in proportion to our net worth, in proportion to the risk we want to take, we moderated our wholesale growth and the large ticket exposures we wanted to take. So I think these 2 or 3 very significant calls we took really played us out in very good stead. And as a result of not growing the loan book, though it must have disappointed many of you, and I understand that the bank has not grown the loan book for 2-3 years. I'm just saying that it was deliberate because the benefit of doing that was that we could quickly address our key issue of CASA being very low. I'm actually happy to share with you that CASA now touched 50% plus, and I think now it feels very, very safe and happy, and we believe that now we are in a position to grow again. Now, there are a number of challenges that you might be concerned about, you might want to talk about today, and please feel free to talk about that. One is on profitability, and then you might say, listen, for a bank of your size and scale at 20,000 crores of net worth, look, you should be posting a lot more profit than you're doing today. It would be a pretty valid concern. Some of you may be concerned that, look, 2 years have gone by, at least the results in terms of the output you expected in terms of share price movement is probably not to your expectation. Our stock is up about maybe 23% from the date of the merger to today. May not be to your satisfaction. We understand that, and maybe there are other issues with regard to ROA, ROE, and I'm quite happy to engage with them later in the last part of the discussion with you about how we want to discuss with the key issue about profitability and return on equity. Now, before we go there, I'd like to take 2 minutes to share with you, with all of you, as to what we are really building in the bank, because ROA, ROE, profitability, everything will come. It will come in due course, and you will see the numbers when they come. But it's more important for us, at least from our point of view, for you shareholders to know what we're really building. So one of the key things we built at the bank right in the beginning was that we set the vision of the bank. I must admit that we've been we set a vision, then we corrected it here and there, and every other day we tend to touch it by a word or two here or there. But the basic philosophy of what we want to set for ourselves has not really changed. We said to ourselves saying that, look, we want to build a world-class bank. Now, a world-class bank, the word is build. The build is important because, our employees are highly talented people. They can really get jobs anywhere, and they can work in fantastic banks in India. But building a world-class bank is something else, and very few people experience it in their lifetime. Number two is we say that we want to build a world-class bank in India. When you say world-class bank in India, I don't claim to be a world-class bank in India today. World-class bank in India will mean, insane level of customer focus, will mean returns, matrices of return on assets, return on equity to be of good benchmarks. Let me call it 16-18% will probably be a good benchmark to go after. And there are many other things to make. And I think in a large country like India, hardly maybe 5 or 6 or 7 banks you can count in that league. And therefore, we have shareholders, I must share with you, we have a real chance, we have a good foundation, we have a real chance to build such a quality bank in this country. The third thing we say is that guided by ethics and customer first values. This is again important because you can make profits, and we've seen many companies make profits, and we know how they, if not built the correct way, they're not sustainable, and then you can have a bit of a yo-yo in the way numbers happen. We don't want a bank like that. So we say to our employees all the time that we want to make such income in the bank which is genuine, which is sustainable, which is not upfronted, which is comes over the life of the contract. We sometimes when people if the people that come from different organizations here, if any employee uses the line that this fee structure customer won't note, let's add it like this, let's remove that fee, that will be too visible, this will not be visible, let's take it. Frankly, we'll skin them alive. If we heard such kind of language, we don't appreciate it. We really want to build a bank which represents true quality from within. And that's what we mean by customer first values. I'll talk about that when we get the opportunity. Powered by technology, that's the other thing we write in mission statement, because we all know that in today's context, all good intent of building a good bank will not work unless we have powered by technology. The Indian ecosystem is so dramatically changing. Too many railroads are coming up from the ecosystem point of view, and then our ability to use and in fact ride on such technologies and being able to surf that waves properly is going to be very critical for us. That's why we say powered by technology. And finally, we say be a force for social good. Let me see the vision statement we got through by talking to lots of people, sometimes within, somewhere outside. And this being a force for social good is very, very important because when we think about it, you can run businesses after businesses. Some of them can be insanely profitable and valuable and all that stuff. But in the end of the day, there is one life, one lifetime, all of us lead. And how much of a force for social good we can be. We thank you for being with us because you are seeing the unfolding of a bank, and I hope you will get to see that in the times to come. Now, with that very quick description of what we are out to build, and I just hope that every one of you share these feelings of what we're really building in the bank. I want to just now quickly share a presentation with you as to what we have progressed thus far and where we take the bank from here on. Thank you. So I described this to you that each one of these words is important to us. We think about it, we speak about it in the bank, and that's what it is. And finally, we say, this is what we do. We want to touch the lives of millions of Indians in a positive way. Now, on the liabilities front, I must say that our bank has really come quite a long way. If you see this slide here, in the last 1 year alone, we have grown our deposit base by close to about 45,000 crores. I think that 25,000 crores, my apologies, which I think would be one of the highest. And remember that this was a period of COVID. And during COVID, as you know, money was flowing to the large established banks and the state-owned banks. And for our bank shareholders to get this kind of deposits in a period of COVID, I just want to share with you that this, we thank our customers rather sincerely for that. And during the last 2 years, you can see how the numbers have moved. Now, CASA ratio, I'm happy to say that we have not touched 51.75%. We also track daily average CASA ratio that's now 50%. And because of that, I can say that the certificate of deposits is something that has come down. I must just say that the certificate of deposits the bank is incrementally taking is more like a 1-year certificate deposit. The certificate deposit.
Sorry to interrupt, sir, this is the operator.
Yes.
Sir, I would request if you can keep the presentation on full screen.
The key point I wanted to just share with you here is that for the upcoming year, we for the rest of the year, we do not expect. I just wanted the shareholders to know that we do not expect this to keep growing like this, because the bank doesn't need that kind of deposits, for this year, at least for the rest of the 6 months of this financial year, and therefore we are moderating our deposit growth to keep in line with our requirements. Now, let me just move this quickly to just share with you that apart from the fact that we grew our deposits, this is very important, that our bank is now having 82% of our deposits, which is customer deposit less than 5 crore, which is basically rather granular. And you can see that we made quite a big progress here. And we also have brought down the top 20 depositors to just 7.7% down, right down from 40%. So really, we feel much more secure now. And you can see the top 10 depositors also come down to just 5.5%. These are massive progress made by the bank, I would say, in terms of granularization. Finally, I must share with you that, like I said, that in the last 2 years, we've raised 53,494 crores from December 18, and we've used 17,000 crores for winding down the borrowings, 16,000 crores for certificate deposits, and 10,000 crores for the wholesale deposits. Now, this sort of, these are some new program. And by the way, I take the opportunity of being on this program to just say that as part of a many program that we have launched, this is a new program we launched today. It will be out in the press maybe in a day or so. Basically, we are offering a 1% cash back to all customers using a debit card. And the important thing is there are no minimum spend conditions. So please go and spend even 100 rupees, we'll give you 1 rupee back. So I want to just move that to assets. As far as assets is concerned, these are very briefly the product suites of the bank. These loans, can range from as low as ticket sizes, or as low as maybe 30,000 rupees or maybe 25,000 rupees, to this being a 1 lakh rupee loan, to this being a 50,000 rupee loan. You get the drift, and some loans are 20-30 lakhs. So our loans may range as low as maybe 10,000 rupees to customers, to as much as maybe 2 crore rupees. So that's kind of a sweet spot. And the important thing is that this is something that we've been doing for 10 years now in the combined history of a bank. And if you see that, our book on this front has grown from 94 crores to something like about maybe 30,000 crores at the time of merger, which has now grown to 73,000 crores. So I don't need to maybe leave in any doubt as to where probably the bank will head in due course. Now, the composition of the book has now become 63%. It's probably more than 63, like 67% if we include the PSL. And this is very important because this component of it is very, very granular. And that's that. On the corporate banking side, I'm happy to share with you that the bank has actually, it may appear to you from the prior slides that the bank is focusing only on retail, which, by the way, it's no doubt the mainstay of the bank. But even the corporate banking side, we have really some fantastic solutions. There's a digital corporate banking platform. We call it BXP. For managing account, making payments, receiving collections, forex conversions, remittances, all that stuff. Then we see the credit exposure. We lend credit exposure on the basis of many criteria. I'm happy to say that we've lent like close to about 120 odd loans in the last 2.5 years since the merger. That totaling at about 7,600 crores of exposure. I'm happy to say that out of the new lending done post merger, just about one account of about 10 crores is behind schedule. So this is a really squeaky clean book that's coming up, and I don't think you need to worry on this front. And you know, our CMS is really best in class. We're getting, we process more than 60 lakh payments every month. So basically the corporate banking side, we're doing a pretty good job, and I'm happy to share that we are doing that you need not have much concerns from now on. Now the other bit is about on our customer first approach. We were not taking it only for branches and deposits and stuff like that. Even our customer first approach focuses even the way the customers took moratorium. So we really made it easy for customers to take moratorium. It was not just we were not trying to put some cute solutions along the way so the less customers take it. We didn't do that. We told customers, we actually put up the database of customers who are eligible for moratorium as per the RBI norm, and customers would come, put their OTP, mobile number, do the OTP, drag and drop the extent of moratorium they wanted to take, and take it online, pure digital processes. And we could actually tell the customer how much more the customer would pay if they were taking a moratorium. Similarly, we pushed that same logic into restructuring. In restructuring, we told the customer, comes, put your mobile number, send an OTP, and then drag and drop how much of restructuring you want. So we actually made it easy for customers during this period. The next thing is about how we launched credit cards during this year. As of now, there was something's very interesting in the credit cards. Of course, the design was rather funky, but the thing is that even in the way we set up the lifetime free, no discussion, no debates, just take it and use it for us. No charges to spend. This is important. If you go over the limit, banks or companies normally do charge. We told customers that, look, we will inform you that going over the limit. We don't want to bill you like this unnecessarily. And sure, if you choose to go over the limit, then you pay a fee. But that's really you're making a choice. We don't want to inadvertently collect a fee from you. On the APR front, it's been going on like 36-48% for like 30 years. We came out with a much lower APR. Rewards point is very easy. We are one of the very few reward system in the country as of now, where actually whatever reward points you have, you can buy anything with the reward points, anything. There are no pre-packaged goods that you will have to buy to consume the points. The journey is really simple. You go to the next online site and you purchase your goods and just use the points and purchase. So we have no limits of what you want to buy with, no restrictions. And finally, interest free, all over the world, when customers withdraw cash, they pay a hell of a price for that. We made it interest free. So all I wanted to say is that this philosophy of customer first is something that we take very seriously, and we believe that the earnings from this sort of approach will be very much more sustainable. If any of you therefore not having a bank account with us, please open with us and enjoy our card or service, and I hope we can live up to expectations. Next thing is about asset quality. I just want to share with you that what are we looking out in asset quality? I'd like to put it straight up front as to what are we shooting for. We are targeting the bank to be on a stable basis, 2% gross NPA, 1% net NPA, and credit loss of 2%. This is how we are constructing our bank on the basis of the business models we are building. Now we will keep iterating this from time to time to get here. As part of asset quality, again, I must tell you that asset quality, infrastructure financing, which is, our NPA here is close to about 15%. I'm happy to say that this has already come down to 10,000 crores. And we're feeling broadly comfortable with this, except for one account, which is about 850 crore account, which has now slipped NPA recently. We believe economically we'll get the money back, but it's behind schedule. The other account thing is that infrastructure portfolio as such also, now we have brought it down from 21% to 9%. The asset, the top 10 borrowers I referred to earlier has now come to only 5.9%. This is very important. Over and above the disclosed NPA, our bank flags the accounts that are not at NPA, but we see them as stressed. And we call them identified stressed accounts. I'm happy to share that that number of identified stresses has already come down from 4,000 crores to actually this number is 2264, but if you take the latest June numbers, something as low as like 1,300 crores. And this, of course, excluding the one telecom account, we'll talk about it. Then we have asset, on the retail side, I'm happy to share that new to credit customers, even before COVID, COVID happened somewhere here, but even before COVID, we've been bringing down the new to credit customers, which is basically getting safer and safer credit. That doesn't mean we do not like to do. Our original DNA has always been to be able to finance the people who are underserved and so on, which we'll continue to do. But more as a bank, we want to just get to a more, let me say, lesser riskier segments, even if it gives us a little lesser income, and our economics now support it. Economics meaning the cost of funds being low. The other thing about we've done in terms of asset quality is that customers having a bureau score of greater than 700, now that number has touched 83, which means that not only the number of customers who are taking, having a credit bureau record has increased, the percentage of customers within that having 700 has increased as well. Now, as far as asset quality is concerned, on what basis are we guiding for 2% gross, 1% net, and 2% credit loss? On what basis do we make the statements? I'd like to share with you that that our check bounces is a first indicator of how the quality of a portfolio will behave, because that's the number of customers returning the checks unpaid after presentation, after the first installment. So that number, if the index was 1, during COVID, it went up by 2. It went up to 2.5. It went up 153%. Now it's now come down to 1.8, like as good as almost there. This is very important, very, very important. That pre-COVID, then there's no COVID. In early bucket, we used to collect 98.8%. Post-COVID, in the month of August that we are already been through, this number has crossed 99.5%. So I'm happy to share with you that the post-COVID numbers actually exceeded the pre-COVID, and therefore that gives us the confidence to say those numbers to you. Lastly, I must point out to you that we have a track record. One COVID shouldn't really scare us off. We learn from it, we have to move on. But for 10 years at a stretch, our gross has been under 2%, and for net NPA has been less than 1%. And remember, at that point in time, we were playing a relatively riskier segment, some of these portfolios. Now, post-COVID, let me say that during COVID, this number, of course, the gross as a bank has now gone to 4% plus, but we believe it will come down back to the numbers, etc. So just think about it like a COVID is an event we had and we learned from, but we do take confidence from a long track record of how we do our portfolio analytics and all that. Last bit to share to you is about profitability. Now, as far as profitability is concerned, I must say that there are, as all of us know, there are a few buttons for profitability. One is net interest margin is the first item. So on the net interest front, we already touched 5%, which probably is among reasonably healthy number in the banking system. Our incremental return on equity on retail is like close to 18 to 20%. This is assumed at a 2% credit loss. I described to you why we feel comfortable about that. Now, and this, by the way, big part of the book, we have a 75,000 crore book. We believe that on an incremental basis, we are getting about 18 to 20% return on equity. On the corporate banking side, it's like about 35,000 crore book, we're getting about a 14-15%. So you see these numbers, they're really very strong numbers. And this is what we really are moving the bank towards. Now, if you see our bank at this point of time, we have many strengths in terms of the way we have liabilities and assets and people and corporate governance. So one thing we are lacking is to have the profitability as what we should be posting for a bank of our size. But I must say that there are two reasons why you don't see these numbers. There are rather three, and I'm showing you why they will go away. One reason why our profitability is low, just pre-merger, our bank sold on close to 6,400 crores of largely ports and infrastructure accounts, and therefore the income on these loans doesn't come anymore. We have about a 2,000 crore of legacy accounts which we provided for, like Dewan Housing and a few other accounts, and this took down our close to about earnings on close to about 8,500 crores of loans, which was coming earlier, doesn't come now. That you can, even at 10%, that's like 850 crores off the books. That's not there today. What was there even 2 years ago? And as a bank, we are filling up this gap, and we're still beginning to grow from here on. Then the second reason why you're not seeing the profit I'm alluding to in the previous screen is that the bank has 28,000 crores at 8.66%. Now we are incrementally raising money at less than 5%, let me call it 4.8. So the gap between 8.6 and 4.8, and then you multiply that by 28,000 crores, you see you're going to make more than about 1,000 crores that is going to come to the P&L straight as and when it goes through. Third thing, the bank has invested, this is the third item, invested in 390 branches, 565 ATM, they all cost money, 12,000 employees. So all of these things were essential for setting up a bank, otherwise a CASA should never have got fixed. And then on top of this, we launched credit card business, we launched wealth management, we did FASTag, we did gold loans, which is of course very early stage, and then we did prime home loans, we did digital lending. So all of these businesses are all costing us money today, but I'm just sharing with you that we've done business long enough to say that all of these things pay back. And when they start, you think about it like this: that you're making a certain amount of profit on some businesses, but you're losing for some reason. You're losing some reason. Once these start squaring up, then you will see this profitability chart playing out. So, just on a final note, I must say that when we think of our bank, first we started telling our employees. We said, okay, we want a theme for our organization as to how all our employees will conduct themselves. This is important for us because, like I said, it's profit has to come with a certain quality underneath. So we wrote this up as ethical, transparent banking. We're very proud and very not proud. Let me say very thrilled about the fact that we had a rallying cry for our employees and so on. Then we said, okay, fine, how could you be a country today? How could be a bank today in the country without having digital on our name? So how do our employees think digital? Then we went around and said, okay, let's write ethical, digital, and social. Then someone said, we are in for social good. Then we said, okay, the social sounds like social media. Let's just, write something more to it. And then we said, we put a seal called ethical, digital, and social good. So let me just say that at this point of time, I hope I'm back on the screen. So that's how we thought about it. We wanted the bank down rank and file to think in terms of quality about how we think of the organization, so on and so forth. So that's how we finally arrived at the seal after a lot of iteration. But I must say that we keep iterating ourselves all the time and never satisfied. So don't be surprised if we come out with a new theme tomorrow morning. It won't be fundamentally different, but it'll be like somewhere in the zone. So I want to stop there and just share with you that that's what we are going for. I'm really happy to talk to all of you. And before I sign off, I wanted to do one small, 1-minute ceremony before I started to speak, but I forgot. If you don't mind, I'd like to have 1 minute of silence for our employees who died during this period. We lost 24 employees, and we have close to about 24,000 employees. So just a silence. And if you indulge me, maybe you can stand for a minute. Thank you. I must thank everybody and for that. Lastly, I just want to say a word for all our employees who are building the bank. I know you're working very hard. For those of you who are tuning into the program today, I want to say thank you to you for the work done. And for those who contributed in the Gargar Russian program and worked at it, thank you. Over to you, shareholders, and over to you, Chairman. First of all, thank you all shareholders for spending patient time with us, giving us inputs. For those of you who encouraged us and appreciated our staff, thank you. And for those of us who gave us suggestions, thank you for that also. The key question that some of you are asked is, what is the future? What is the future plan? How is the profitability going to come? So let me just take the opportunity of sharing one very key input with you, and this slide will help you. my past experience is that once we start building the company, if you remember, for those many of you Capital First shareholders who spoke, you talked repeatedly of the fact that, there are some notes that have come from Satish to me here also, saying that, look, when Capital First was there, profit is being made, now how loss is being made, etc. My quick question is that even in Capital First, if you remember, the first 2-3 years were all were probably in a loss situation. It's not working anymore. But once the core business model is established, then you can see how the profit then chart then increases from there. This comes only if the incremental profitability is strong. This is very, very important for you to note. And the other thing I want to show you, some people talk to us about cost to income. In the initial stage of setting up any company, any bank, if you remember Capital First also, between 2010, 11, 12, 13, cost to income was always high. 70%, 80%. But once the scale is established, after that, then you see how cost income comes down 70, 50, 50, 50 and stabilizes around 50, 55. So I feel that our bank is pretty much in the same stage as what Capital First was in maybe 2009, 10, 11. And with scale, this will come down. That will all come only if the incremental profitability model is strong. I described that to you earlier. Then you see once this comes, when cost to income comes down, see how EPS, at least went up in that case, 12, 18, 24, 33, all that good news in terms of earnings per share, profit, return on equity. You can see how a loss of return on equity then moved to 8, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 and all that. Now, many of you asked you questions about profitability. Let me just sum it up in 1 second. In the case of Capital First, it was 15% return on equity when cost of fund was 9%. Today, cost of fund is less than 5%. You can clearly see how the 15, return on equity 15, if it was at 9% cost of funds, now at 5% cost of funds, you can clearly see when I'm projecting that incremental cost return on equity is 18 to 20%, this one fact is helping you understand that. That is it. That's what I want to share with you. Just share with you that I'm not, I want to be a bit, just to put the important caveat here. I don't want to make you feel that this is necessarily headed that way. Business has its own risks and all the usual caveats I would like to put it. I'm not saying that we're exactly going to replicate Capital First, don't get me wrong. But I'm just directionally telling you that if incrementally we are borrowing money less than 5, incrementally we're lending at 14 plus, at least the retail side, and incrementally net interest margin is upwards of 8 or 9%, or maybe above 9%, incrementally our cost of credit cost is about 2%, then our incremental profitability is going to be very, very strong. And then in due course, the incremental book becomes the book and the old book just goes out. And this one, it goes out. The second thing is that some of you people make comments in here also saying that, look, is it because of legacy accounts? I want to be a little honest about this. It is very easy for me to judge, or any of us to judge in hindsight, saying that legacy accounts as if anybody did a bad job before. Just the nature of the cycle. That infrastructure was it was the nature of the cycle that roads, ports, and many of those businesses completely went downwards. I'm not sure. I certainly would not connect it to, anybody else in the prior management doing a bad job. And so don't, I certainly will not want to venture there. Just want to be clear about that. Just cycle is nature of the beast of the infrastructure financing, but we are taking it through the P&L at this point of time. Number 3, with regard to sorry, I get the questions one by one. Business, yeah. Number 3, with regard to how will the cost of funds, now that the bank has brought down the interest rates, how will the bank grow deposits? Let me just quickly share with you that we have done our liquidity planning. Our liquidity at this point of time is running in excess of 170 to 180%. That means that the bank has excess cash, like excess over the normal requirement. Normally, every bank keeps some cash, keeps some reserve cash over and above. We are sitting on much more liquidity than that. On top of that, we are unable to even utilize a large number of low-cost lines available to us. To give you an idea, for example, some of the money that we raised recently was at about 5% or something for 2 or 3 year money. That's so cheap. Now, therefore, or in less than 5, actually, 4.4, 4.5%, something like that. So, therefore, our bank feels at this point of time that if the deposit slows down, it is good for us. Therefore, I'd like you to have one expectation and be aware that in the coming quarter, i.e. in the September ending quarter and in the December ending quarter and the March ending quarter, you're not going to see increase in deposits in the bank in any significant manner. Last year, you saw it grow by 25,000 crores. I can tell you, if we want, we will raise it. It's very easy for us. We could raise money even in COVID time. We could raise money even pre-COVID time when a bank was in early stage. Now for us, raising money is no problem. So short point is that you will see that our deposits will stabilize, probably just grow by a few thousand crores a quarter, if at all it grows, but don't bother about it. It is planned that way. Now, the next question is about how our cost of funds is expected to play out from here. Definitely, we feel that we have already brought down the cost of funds. In fact, as we speak today or tomorrow, I think maybe today already, we have reduced the fixed deposit rate of interest rates further. Now we are among the lowest payments in terms of fixed deposit rates in the country. By about 75 basis points we reduced between yesterday and today. Now it is deliberate again because I told you our coffers are full and we don't need any more deposits. I don't claim no more deposits. We appreciate customers' business. We really want it in that sense. We want to build a customer relationship. But I want to share with you that our coffers are kind of rather running full. Now with regard to how many branches are there in Mumbai, currently we have 39 branches. Many people asked a strategy about opening branches. I must say that we are going to slow down the rate of growth of branches now in the bank. First few years we put up close to about 400 branches, 390 branches. But now we're going to slow it down because, like I said, deposits are coming in so very much. But still, we'll keep our lines open. The other thing is our options open. Sorry. Next question is that somebody asked whether interest rates we will stabilize it from here. We will not increase it from here. Well, listen, I make no such comments. We are a bank. It's like this interest rate is like a tap for us. If we need more deposits, we will raise it. If tomorrow the business on the lending side grows a lot and we feel the need for raising, we will raise it. If we have need to reduce it, we'll reduce it. That's how the nature of it is. Only thing is that as a fixed deposit is concerned, all past fixed deposit contracts will be honored. That's how it works. So another person, Mr. Tamal, asked about what do you expect NIM, will it be sustained? Yes, the NIM will sustain. We don't worry about it. Frankly, we expect it to increase from here because I told you incremental net interest margin are strong. Whether RBI circular on current account will bother us, kind of there were a few customers whom we had to let go as part of the process. Some came to us, but broadly, we are, frankly, generally speaking, if you see the CA and the SA, our current account share is relatively low. It's maybe about 15% of the CASA. I think other banks or good banks who have already evolved in this space are maybe even more like 25-30%. So we have some work to do on that front, and we are focusing on it, and we will work on that zone. Once we get the flow of the customer, and we worked out many schemes for that, we will be able to increase our current account percentage anyway, irrespective of the RBI norm. How do we become a primary bank of the customer? Primary bank, yes, I'm just saying that let's not forget that we're just a 5-year-old bank, and even over the 5 years, I think that the acceleration most customers have we've had in the last 2 years. Now, obviously, all our customers, maybe a good portion of customers, are already banking with someone else. So it will take time for us to become primary bank. But the good news is I'm sharing with you that most customers who experience us really appreciate our services. I mean, we see our internal numbers. Of course, there are complaints. There could be issues, glitch, etc. But let me just say, most of the customers, we get some huge appreciation when we go and visit the branches. Generally, everybody is very motivated. They feel that customers are appreciating them, and that lifts their spirits. Generally, feeling in the bank is very positive. So that also is a very big factor. There may be some gaps in our offering. I think since 2 years, we've covered a lot of gaps, really, in terms. I think we have credit cards now, home loans, car loans, personal loans. We have very soon we're going to have our own DMAT coming up very soon. Then we could even have a 3-in-1 tie-up with some broker, though we won't get into broking ourselves. So once a proposition becomes more and more complete, we will hope to become a primary banker. I'm pretty confident, by the way, that we will be one of the significant bankers for customers in the times to come. Retail loan to total portfolio, I told you our numbers about 63, including private sector is 77. Do you keep track of end use of loans? For the products criteria where the end use is required to be tracked, which is most of the loans, we are well in control. Will ban on MasterCard affect our life? Not at all. Branch question I already answered. CASA growth for 21-22 answered because we expect it to be stabilize from here as part of the strategy. Don't get bothered when results come and you say that the deposits are flattening. It's as per the plan. These were broadly the questions on the business side. Then there was questions on the asset quality front, how the bank plans to deal with NPA. My question is, what the prospects look like. I'm giving you a pretty straight and simple answer. I made a presentation to you earlier. I showed you that our collections in the bank are higher in we call the early bucket, like we call the 0 to 30 and so on and so forth, early buckets, what we internal term called X bucket, which is early bucket. It's usually a very good sign of how much of the credit loss you will have in the due course, because eventually credit loss is a product of flows. Now that number for the bank is reducing. It's even gotten even better than pre-COVID. It has taught us two things. One is we expect our credit losses in the coming year, i.e. in 22-23, to be lesser as a percentage of book than what we are incurring this year. For this year, we have guided for the bank to have a credit loss of close to about 3,000 crores on a loan book of about, say, let me say 125,000 crores or something like that on average, to give you an order of magnitude about 2.5% of the loan book. Now, 2.5% of loan book credit charge in a COVID year is pretty good. Our book is in very good control. Next year, we're guiding it for to be less than 2%. And year after that, hopefully, will sustain. So I feel we're in very good control of our credit. And the big learning we've had from this is that the segments we deal with, of course, when a COVID comes, business economic cycle comes, they all get affected. But when the cycle, when the economy starts firing again, they all pay back, all meaning in the proportion that they pay. But the recovery starts coming back, is the better way to put it. And therefore, that means that there's a good resilience in the portfolio. This has been my experience. One of the gentlemen earlier asked, saying that, that I mentioned that retail has been a very stable business. Yes, indeed, it is very stable. Do we believe in a business model? I mean, hell of a lot. We think that this is the fantastic business to do because it's diversified. And finally, the best proof of the pudding is when demonetization happened in 2016, there was no impact on the portfolio hardly. The GST got implemented, no impact on the portfolio. 10 years, gross NPA of 2, net NPA of 1. 10 years, not a short time. There's no fluke. There's no flash in the pan. And now during COVID, it has gone up. We again expect to come down. So we believe it's a very good model, and this is the business model to build in the long run. Next question, someone asked, what is the long-term future? Let me just say that if the fundamentals are good, what is fundamentals? You have good liabilities base. We do have low cost. Yes, low cost. We have a lending model. Yes, we have. We have intellectual property. Yes, we have. We have growth model. Yes, we have. So we have everything going for us. So let me just say that, if you think of a bank like ICICI Bank today, a very good bank with 5 lakh or 5.5 lakh crore retail book, maybe other banks are even more than that. State Bank of India, maybe twice that number. Look at these banks. They all started once upon a time at maybe 200 crores or 500 crores. My point is that today we have 75,000 crores of loan book. India's market, where we target X the large corporate, greater than 50 crore, that is like 70 lakh crore. That's not even 1% of India's book. So let me, the short answer is that if you take a 5-year, 10-year, 15-year view, this bank can be anything. It can be 5 lakh crore bank, can be 10 lakh crore bank. This direction not going to stop. And particularly after you started home loans, this growth will never stop. That's my opinion. Now, Vodafone. A quick answer on Vodafone is that, we said that before. Yes, we have a 2,000 crore funded exposure. Well, do we expect the government to come in and be of support to the telecom sector? I think so. Do any of us ever want this to be a duopoly market and be? The answer is no. Is the government sensitive to that? I assume the government is. They've talked about it. Will the government lose a lot if Vodafone goes down? Hell of a lot, because think about, you won't get auctions, you won't get pricing, you know where the game will head. Now, therefore, do we expect that to survive? I'd say probably yes. Now, how should you think about it? You think the worst. You imagine the worst. That's 2,000 crores. We have dealt with the Dewan Housing 600 crores. We have dealt with the Reliance Capital 1,500 crores. We have dealt with some, infrastructure companies of 500-600 crores. We've dealt with so many things. Then this is the last of the big item that will hit us, if it all hit us. After that, that's fine. After that, capital adequacy will still be 14.6%. Then the story of loan forever, growing ever is going to stop. No, if our plan is to build the bank to ROE of 16 to 80% and 18%, that story is not going to stop. So even if Vodafone goes down and we lose money, take it that this is one of the last big legacy items to deal with. And after that, I don't think any big item is going to bother us. That's my view. Now, next question is steps to reduce NPA. I already answered that. Fraud, there was a 106 crore fraud someone has talked about. Yes, by the way, this 100 crore frauds includes 4 corporate cases of 88 crores. And these 88 crores are part of a consortium lending or multi-banking. Think of it like this, a large, medium enterprises kind of loans, 20, 30 crore loans. Some of us are trader in Delhi and all that. But we've taken it to the P&L. That's the end of the matter. Incrementally we are in a very good shape. And anyway, on the retail side, we don't have this kind of losses of running into 20, 30, 100 crores and all that stuff. They're typically 1 crore, 2 crore kind of accounts. And typically coming from, you asked us how it comes from, typically coming from skimming and all that. Now, next question, someone has asked about retail banking, that it posted a loss, and corporate banking posted a loss last quarter, treasury made the profit. Well, this early stage bank. In this early stage bank, just to give you a quick sense that the key lines that hit profitability or affect profitability are pre-provisioning operating profit. So since I was a new bank, we have our expenses, we have branch, ATMs, all that kind of stuff. So, and I said because of legacy reasons, our income is relatively low. So our PPOP is relatively low. But I can tell you the way our bank is picking up, you wait and see 22, 23, you wait and see 23, 24, 24, 25. Like the picture I showed you for Capital First, there is a very real chance that this will pick up in a substantial way. Do not expect very much increase in PPOP for this financial year that we're going through right now. We expect cost income to be around 80% now in the next 3 quarters. That's how it's planned. So think of this year as like 80% cost income ratio, and that's probably the 3rd year of that operation. Even for the next 2-3 quarters, that's the way it is. And after that, next year and the year after that will be the big breakthrough. I hope to be borne out right on that, but I'm personally pretty confident, and I hope you will share the confidence. If you don't, you will share it when it happens. Next is provisions for the quarter. Already answered that. Learnings from COVID 1 and 2. My big learning is that there is a lot of resilience in India. The way RBI came in quickly and reacted, it gave a lot of confidence. The way government acted quickly and put out money in the poor people's pockets and stabilized the lower income segment of the population, big confidence. I told you about RBI, TLTRO1, TLTRO2, MSF increase and CRR reduction. The bullets kept firing at the problem. It gave me a lot of confidence. And finally, about our own self, I think a portfolio resilience has come through this. And I mentioned that. Now, can the registered office of the bank move to shift to Mumbai? We really haven't thought about it, but we thank you for that suggestion. We'll think about it. Next question was for somebody in the context of governance. I can assure you that we have a really good board. Our board talks governance really all the time. This is one guarantee I can give you: we will not slip on corporate governance. Targets are one thing, maybe 90%, 80%, 120%, but governance we will not go down. And I think we have a really good chairman of the audit committee here, Mr. Ashish Kamath. You got Sanjeev Chaudhary and got everybody else here. Really, we have a stellar board who will not slip on this front. Sexual harassment case, what action has been taken against that one pending case? Action taken is usually not public data, but I can tell you we take it seriously, and there are various shades of penalties depending on the gravity of the offense, and we deal with that accordingly. Cost of digital AGM as compared to physical AGM. I'm advised that this cost of this annual report creation as well, including the VC, is 30 lakhs, and it is lower than a physical AGM of all its costs put together. Remuneration of non-executive directors. Yes, the limit is 20 lakhs. The proposal is for 16 lakhs. Key thing is that, someone made a comment about the amount. We are really very sensitive that the quality of board members is very critical. It's a lakh or two is not the difference. It is the quality of board members, and the direction, the strategic direction, the quality of governance, that is a tremendous value add. I hope all of you will agree with me on that. The steps on steps taken for corporate governance, already answered that question. Future capital requirement, capital dilution, well, we are a bank and we are going to grow. And at this point of time, I don't say forever, at this point of time, our growth is going to be a little higher. I told you, we expect to grow at 25% per year for a long time. At this point of time, capital accretion in the bank in terms of return on equity is not 25% or not even 20%. So therefore, to that extent, our capital position will dip over the next maybe year or so, or year and a half, and we'll come back to the market for capital. But the important thing is that the incremental return on capital for the bank is very strong. I described the numbers to you, 18 to 20% for retail and 15% for wholesale. So the incremental utilization of capital, the return on that is very, very good. And like I showed you the prior example, that eventually the incremental becomes the book. And I'm just want to share that with you. The question on profitability expectation for rest of the year and provision expectation for rest of the year. Okay, my answer is pretty simple on that. We expect the second quarter provisions to be substantially lesser than first quarter. We expect quarter 3 to be again lesser than Q4 or Q2, and we expect Q4 to be provision to be less than Q1. Reason we say that is because we can see the flow of the book, and we are feeling very confident about that. The other thing is that is the provision of COVID provision enough to cover for that? The answer is yes. The open item still is on Vodafone. Just want to share with you, but I think that we've been very open about right from the beginning. That's a 2,000 crore exposure. Our coverage, 2,000 on funded exposure, non-funded at 1244 crore. We have a provision cover of something like 480 crores. So about a 1,500 odd crore of funded is yet to be provided if something were to go wrong with that company. But really, the way I talked about it earlier, we have mentally factored it in. We will fight it out through the law of the land. We're very clear about that. It's not something for us to sit back and watch and write off. But I can tell you that the bank is well prepared for it, and we will deal with it as it comes. We have enough capital, and we'll keep growing after their own. And the important thing is incremental profitability is very important. I just request you not to lose sight of that proposition. Next question is about, this is answered already. What is the bank doing on digital payments? Well, a lot. You will see a lot of it coming through in the times to come. We are developing some very good app, and we got to build on it. I don't claim, I mean, we've developed a good app, and I feel pretty good about it, but is it still the best? Is it still what we want to be? I don't think so. I think next maybe 5 or 6 months we'll be investing a lot more into it, and then bring you a truly advanced app. Our current app has many good features, and hopefully you try it and you'll like it. Video KYC, someone said that you visited the branch, and then after, you did video KYC, still you asked to visit the branch. It's a mistake. Hopefully it shouldn't happen, and we'll review our systems to see why that happened with you. Brand ambassador, Mr. Amitabh Bachchan, I must say that thank you for your comments and your suggestions. I have no doubt in my mind that he's one of the most iconic personalities of our time. He's truly an icon of a generation. I don't think such an icon in the movie industry has emerged, not in my lifetime. Now, next is what percentage of the is vaccinated? 61% have a first jab, 36% have taken both jabs, and our bank is working on our staff. We've actually put together. So basically, I think it's about 90% then. How to read this? 97%. 97%. 97% is vaccinated, just for information, and the bank is running a proper campaign. Yes, you're right. We tell employees that if you're not vaccinated, don't come to work because you're a threat not only to a risk, not only to peer employees. What about customers? People are concerned. So that's our stand. Yeah, I thank you for the suggestion. Now, what is the support we have given to our employees for COVID? We started the meeting. I must say that we put together a good plan for our employees. We assured them because many of them died in action, i.e. like 24 of them I told you. So we have assured employees 4 times CTC. We have assured them salary credit for the nominee for 2 years, so that then we get waiver of employee loan. We extended a medical insurance for 24 months. We gave them scholarship up to 10,000 rupees per month for 2 children until graduation. And by the way, we announced this when COVID was at its peak, and the numbers are still there. So employees really appreciated that. until graduation and paying that for employees. We then implemented the retrospective effect for all employees who had passed away before the date of the announcement. Employment of spouse on merits, because otherwise they would not fit in the system, on merits. And if they don't fit by merits, then we give them a training allowance of 2 lakh rupees. And then we put to a question, yes, I had recused myself from this because I was part of framing that scheme. Now, during pandemic, 60% of staff work from home. Now we have allowed 60 to 70% come to office. Some teams 80 to 90%. We expect this to, normalize in due course. Branches, by the way, is running 100%, 100% occupancy, 100% attendance. CSR, some people made some comments. Thank you for that. By the way, this Ghar Ghar Ration was not a CSR program. It was an employee-funded program. It is not a bank-funded program. And that was basically people paid between 1 day's salary to some people paid 5 days, 10 days. Some people paid 1 month's salary. But all that money, then we said, okay, this is the true moment to be customer first, because what else is customer first? We want to be customer first all the time. We want to be good to customers, bill well, account well, not do wrong things and all that. But the moment was really when this was going on. So we used the money to directly fund it. Nobody gets any ATJ benefits and all that, because it is not a CSR program and it's not a recognized contribution in that sense. How many employees are working through at office? Already answered that question. How is the bank supporting the staff in COVID-19? Already answered that question. Any risk to the 5-year plan? Usual business risks that I may want to caveat, but otherwise we feel that with the foundation well set and incremental margins looking good, the bank will look good in the due course. Except I showed you the model about how things have been built step by step, and we shouldn't hurry up this number. But other than that, our plan for 5 years broadly stands, and we want to get there. Then you have what is the impact of CSR activity should be studied? No, thank you. We'll keep that in mind. Someone asked a question about the reverse merger. The quick answer is that no, we haven't had any formal discussion yet with IDFC Limited. So I would like to leave it at that. The next question of Vodafone already answered. Growth in the future, retail, is it coming from retail or MSME? Largely, we say retail is going to be the big break. But like I said, in corporate banking also, just to clarify, we like corporate banking. It's not that we, swan it off. We like it. I told you so many features the bank has built in terms of technology, our cash management, our, many other business excellence platform, etc. Now, someone asked a question about what are the future value drivers for the bank. I told you one is straightforward net interest margin. That's easy to understand. We are in the bank using our branches now to attend to both assets and liability customers. So that's a fusion happening there, and customers coming there for servicing can become liability customers and so on. That's a big one. Number 3, our bank in the early stage. So we have not yet fully fired up the machinery about cross-selling, insurance, mutual fund, forex, etc. Yet to the let me say we are like, I rate ourselves maybe 40-50% of our potential. So we are not yet cracked the potential. So that's one big area of distribution of services. That's a big one to fire. We are doing very well on FASTag. What is the number of FASTags we have? So we have, I don't know the number offhand, but let me just say that we have maybe 2 or 3 million FASTag users. And that's also a source of significant income for the bank. Cash management is a separate business, not really any of these lines of business. That's a line of income. So there are many lines of income that we believe can fire up in the next 4 or 5 years. This is early stage of the bank. And by the way, we've got a really fantastic technology platform. We are telling our customers again and again and again, don't missell. Don't, one bad customer experience, then customer really, you lose a lot of faith from the customers. So we don't missell, but we have a full picture that will also fire up productivity. 4.2 million FASTags. So you get the drift that there are many things to fire for the bank, and I'm quite bullish about our own bank. Let me leave it at that. So I think that's the set of questions that we had. My hand is empty. In case anybody has anything, or chairman wants to close the meeting. Thank you, everybody. I must close the meeting by saying that I, once again, on behalf of all our board members, I want to thank all of you for being here and asking us the questions and engaging with us. I speak for our board, and I want to close the meeting by saying that I really thank our board, really valuable and give excellent strategic direction. Thank you.
Thank you. Satish, you want to take the next one?
I would now request Mr. Madhivanan Balakrishnan, Chief Operating Officer of the bank, to give vote of thanks to the shareholders. Madhivanan?
Yeah, thank you, Satish. I hope I am audible. First and foremost, a very good evening to all our dear shareholders. My name is Madhivanan. I'm the Chief Operating Officer of the bank, and I'm attending the meeting through video conference facility from the corporate house of the bank in Mumbai. First and foremost, I would like to thank each and every board member led by our chairman, Mr. Sanjeev Chaudhary, and for the time Mr. Vaidyanath spent, and of course each and of our board members for continuously being there to guide us through the thick and thin of what was a very difficult year in the face of the pandemic. I would also like to thank our shareholders, bondholders, customers, business correspondents, vendors, clients, financial institutions, the Government of India, the Reserve Bank of India, SEBI, the two exchanges, Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Corporate Affairs, the depositories, credit rating agencies, and other domestic and overseas regulatory authorities for having reposed their confidence in our bank. We acknowledge the support of all our business partners for the great contribution to the growth journey that we spoke about today. I would also like, in this very difficult year, put my sincere acknowledgement and commitment to my colleagues and team members, for all our employees of the bank. Their valuable contribution during this difficult period has enabled the bank to make significant progress towards achieving its objective of becoming a diversified universal bank on a very strong foundation, putting the strong foundations. Last but not the least, I would like to offer my sincere thanks to each and every one of you, dear shareholders, for taking your time out. And I would also like to thank Chorus for putting this entire mechanism through so that we were able to have a very seamless interaction between all of you and the management. I thank you all for your valuable comments, appreciation, criticisms, feedback. At our bank, we take each of these very seriously, and we are committed to create a wonderful bank and create value for all our shareholders. Thank you. Dhanyavad.
Dear members, as instructed by the scrutinizer, we request all the members participating in this AGM and who have not yet cast their vote to do so in the next 30 minutes. Thank you.